Welcome to Beyond Chronic Burnout, the podcast for autistic women and the professionals who support them, where we go beyond exhaustion and into a life designed for sustainable energy, peace, and fulfillment. I'm your host, Carole Jean Whittington, and today we're diving into an incredibly powerful conversation about finding your authentic voice, self-acceptance, and releasing the physical weight of past burdens. Joining me is my dear friend, Kara Bunde-Dunn, a leadership expert, spiritual medium, and host of the Energetics podcast. Kara helps people harness energy, intuition, and personal power to align with their true purpose. In this episode, we explore why discovering your authentic voice is essential for well-being, how self-acceptance transforms body image and confidence, and the power of releasing past burdens to embrace personal growth. If you've ever felt silenced, struggled with body image, or wanted to break free from the past to step into your full power, this episode is for you, my friend. Let's get started.
Step out of the shadows, feel the power rise, catch the spark inside you, let your spirit fly. Beyond the chronic burnout, Carole Jean's your guide. Find your steady rhythm, nice joy on the tide. Flourish forward, bright and bold. Leave the burnout far behind. In this journey, hearts unfold. Power's yours, seek and find.
It always sparks my joy when I get to share some time with my good friend, Kara. Kara, welcome to the show. I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today.
Me too. It's like we get to talk all the time, but we'll talk on air this time. So I love it. I'm super pumped. Thanks for having me.
So you guys get to be privy to the things Kara and I talk about. And this is life-changing. I'm telling you, every time Kara and I have a conversation, there is always some big shift or there's some big aha or awareness that I have sometime after we've talked that's just like, wow, I didn't think about things like that. It always,
I'm kind of the same
conversations with you do that.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same with you. I always feel like I am reminded of what it means to come back to yourself, to spark joy and happiness and have fun and enjoy the journey. I'm always reminded of that because you're so good at helping people think about that, about what really truly brings them joy. So I love that about you.
Oh, thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, today you guys are joining us for a beautiful conversation all around our authentic voice. What is the self-love? How does our body image and maybe our relationship with food have to do with our throat chakra and our energy alignment? Because you, my friend, have some great insights around this. And you have a wonderful course that I know helps people discover more about this. You've helped me. I want to just really dive into, before we get into the big conversation, what have you noticed, like looking back, where did you notice you were staying silent and how that impacted your physical health?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I came from the corporate world. So those of you that don't know my story, I was a corporate executive on an airplane all the time, and a practicing spiritual medium on the side. Wink, wink, nobody knew about it. Well, some people did, but most people didn't. And most people would have said, wow, Kara's so confident. I'll speak on stages in front of thousands of people. And I had quite the booty, like bootylicious booty, and I never let it stop me. I never let the way I looked stop me. But I did find that there were parts of my life where I was shrinking, or you may relate to this, especially as it comes to our bodies. If we aren't caring well for our physical self, and maybe we're doing well in every other part of our life, it's like, well, I don't have time for that because I'm crushing it in my career and I'm crushing it as a mom and I'm crushing it as a wife. And I'm like climbing the corporate ladder and I'm on all these volunteer committees and I'm doing the thing. So I don't have time to take care of my body. I'll take care of my spirit. I'll take care of my soul, but my body's the last to go. And that's kind of how that was for me in particular, as it relates to my energy and my physical body. It was like the last frontier, the last thing that I needed to go deep and discover myself about, that I just kind of put off, if you will. But I think women in general, even the most confident, even the most corporate executives, even the people you would never imagine, will second guess or rehearse what they want to say in certain situations of their life. So an example would be, oh God, I got to bring up to my boss that we're not going to do the thing that he thinks we need to do because we need to be doing this thing over here instead. So you think like, oh, I'm going to say it this way. Oh no, he probably won't receive that. Like maybe I'll say it this way. Like, okay, wait, no, actually, if I say it this way, I think I can get it moved across the line the way I need to. And we like practice and rehearse in our head what we're going to freaking say. Like, I don't know if you can relate to that. Can you relate to that?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Scripting all day long.
Yeah. And when I talk to men, they don't do that. Like, what do you mean? I mean, I just tell them we're going to change in directions. And I tell them why. I'm like, you don't like practice in your head? Or like if I know I have to talk about something hard with my husband, I'm like, oh, okay, gotta have the courage. I'm going to say it like this. I'm going to say it like this. I got to have the courage. I got to have the courage. And it's like, I'm so confident in so many parts of my life, yet I will find myself with a blocked throat chakra, with like walking on eggshells, or maybe not fully standing in my power, or maybe the world thinks I am, but I know I had to work really hard to get there, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, especially when I'm working with autistic women in the unveiling method, and we're getting to that place of unmasking, unveiling, pulling those layers off. The biggest place when we do our energy body appraisal to really hone in on which of the energy centers is feeling the most draining for you. A majority of people end up in their throat area.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know for myself, when I look back, there was a time in my life where I was free and I spoke, whatever came to my mind or my heart. And then something changed one day.
Yeah. Somewhere around 9 or 10, I started playing a little smaller.
Yeah. I think I was 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And I remember I gone to the beach that summer with one of my good friends.
Oh, we're going to have the same story. I feel it.
Right. And we had like gone off and played and we were doing stuff. And the world around me said, gosh, you're weird.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing that? Or that's not what we think. And it was just like my entire voice. I felt like Ariel, like when she loses her voice. I felt like that's what happened. It was like my voice, my little ball of energy and my voice just went away and I got really quiet. And I remember the next year at school when we came back, and it was the summer of 6th grade going into 7th. That's when it happened. So when I got to 7th grade, I remember some of my friends and everything looked at me like after the first couple of weeks of school and they're like, what happened to you? Why are you so quiet?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that followed me into my adulthood. I mean, I remember I was a partner in a business and my partner was an older man. And I just remember scripting out everything I was going to say because of what I knew we needed to do. And I would think about, kind of like what you were talking about when you go to your husband, he's like, work up the courage. But then the other thing was like, do I say it this way? Or is he going to respond better if I say this way? So then I come up with like 10 different ways. And it was just exhausting.
Yeah.
And I would finally say something and he'd be like, okay, whatever you want to do. That's a great idea. I'm just like, well, that was a lot for nothing.
It's interesting for me. I've never been afraid to speak up, but I also am somebody that gets my feelings hurt a lot. So it's a weird dichotomy of a relationship where I'm like, I am bold and I say what I think and I will stick up for people that no one else will stick up for. I've been that my whole life. I'm not afraid to use my voice. But then when I do and people judge me, I'm like, what's wrong? Why are they judging me? Oh, and that's kind of part of that blocked throat chakra too, where you're like, maybe you actually have the courage to say it, but then you're so sensitive about people's response to it, or you worry about the judgment that comes with standing firmly in who you are as a person. And so I don't know. I've always been this person that's like, I'm going to stand on my own soapbox. I'm going to do my own thing. Like, check me out. And then I've always been the person that can cry in like 2 seconds. Like, oh my God, these people are so mean, And so it's like quite an interesting dynamic, which I kind of learned is actually my superpower because I'm a spiritual medium and my high sensitivities is actually what allows me to tap into people's energy. So it's actually a good thing. But, when you're 22 or 27 or 16, it's a little bit different. And for me in particular, thinking about how it affects our bodies and our image of ourselves and our worthiness and speaking, I was like, I'm going to confidently speak who I am when it's about my brain, when it's about what I think about things in the world. But I started very similar to you in terms of out on a beach between 6th and 7th grade. And I had, the tummy rolls and I was in a 2-piece like sports swimsuit. And I was in California on a beach in the ocean with my cousins, and their friends were like, "Oh my God, what's like, why are you eating that? Like, you don't need to be eating anything. Look at you." And I was like, "Oh," and it totally ruined me. Like I didn't even really care about what I looked like before then. For some reason, it just wasn't something that I cared about. And then after that, it really spiraled me into caring about what I look and having been on both spectrums of very thin and very heavy, and now I'm somewhere in between. I call it the magic middle. But the world does judge you by the way that you look, by the way you sound, the way you look, the way you act. I mean, so many things, but especially by the way that you look. And so I thought, well, I'm never going to let people judge me that way again. And it spurred a long, long unhealthy relationship with food well into my 40s, where I had a significant eating disorder and really calorie restricted and crazy amounts of exercise. And then the opposite. I was like, I'm not being controlled by that, and I went to the extreme, like I'll eat whatever I want. It doesn't matter what I look like. But on the inside, I was a bit punishing myself. Like, I don't want attention from men. I don't want that. I want people to care about my career. I want people to care about my worthiness. So if I'm bigger, then no one will comment on the way I look. And the only thing they have left to measure me on is who I am as a person. And so I hid behind weight. And so I had both sides of that spectrum. And both happen. I think both happen when we are not standing in our worthiness, if you will, and really using our voice to stand in our authentic voice.
We're taking a quick pause in the show so that I can share a new Whittington Wellbeing membership opportunity with you. Then we'll get back to the fabulous conversation with my guest. Feeling drained before the week even begins? You're not alone. As an autistic woman, I faced the same Sunday evening dread, those horrible Sunday scaries. My to-do list felt like a mountain I could never climb. But I discovered a way to transform my Sundays and ultimately my entire week. Introducing Alignment Sundays, a live community journey guiding you out of exhaustion and into aligned energy. Each Sunday session begins with a guided meditation to align with your higher self first. Access these meditations anytime in our online portal throughout your week so that you stay aligned. I'll personally take you through the energy appraisal guide in the session to help you navigate your week with clarity. Imagine ending your week with energy to spare. Join me and let's turn Sunday afternoons into a time of calm clarity for the week ahead. Learn more at the link in the show notes below and get started this Sunday. Now, back to the conversation. Oh gosh, yes. I've had such a similar experience. I've been really thin. I've been really heavy. I've sort of I'm not even in the magic middle. I'm in like the fluffier middle at the moment.
Well, me too, maybe. The fluffy magic middle. I think it's magical.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with it.
I mean, it's just one of those things, but there was a time where I looked at my body and it was so harsh. It was so
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of co-occurring health conditions, and so during a time where my body had just done all it could do and it was shutting down, and I mean, I was bedridden. I couldn't even lift my hand to feed myself, and it was at that point that I was so angry with my body, and I
Mm.
was like, "You're betraying me.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
keeping me from living my life," and when I look back, I was like, I had run my poor body into the dirt.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had starved it. I had, like, over-exercised it
Yes.
ridiculously, and there were so many things, and part of that was I had kept quiet. All of it was hidden.
Mm. Yeah, and
Everything
it was coming out in that for you. Like your control was coming out in that. I can't
Yeah,
control people silencing my voice, but I can control what I eat or don't eat or exercise or don't exercise.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's amazing because it even impacted, like, when I started this journey of self-discovery, of unveiling, of learning I was autistic, and what does that mean for me to be autistic?
Yeah.
And I started doing some mirror work, and I wasn't really experiencing the feeling of love for myself in
Yeah.
that exercise like I wanted to. And I felt really defeated and I got a little mad and I was just like, this is crazy. How can I I was talking to myself, right? I'm standing in the bathroom and I was looking in the mirror going, I love you, Carole Jean. And I'm going, I feel nothing. This is just not working. And I was like, why can't I feel for me? And I want to feel for me the way I feel about my husband. And I looked around the corner and I stepped up and I looked at him and I just was like, damn, I love you so much.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my whole body just filled with that
Yeah.
feeling.
Did you feel your energy shift?
Yes, and I
Yeah.
and I felt and I was like, "This is how I wanna feel about me. This is how I wanna love me." And I was like,
Mhm.
"I'm gonna hold this." And I held
Yeah.
that feeling and I stepped back into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I said, "This is how I wanna love you, Carole Jean."
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Love
And
that.
something shifted, and I have thick ankles. I have skater ankles, right?
Same, same.
That's just me, and so a couple of days later, got out of the shower, I had shaved my Chewbacca legs, and I was putting lotion on my legs, and I was laying on the bed, and I had the leg up in the air, and out of nowhere, no prompting, no preface, no nothing, I looked at my leg, and I genuinely looked at it and went, "My leg is so beautiful." I'd never been complimentary of my body without a but or if,
Mhm.
maybe. It was just, "My leg is beautiful," and I genuinely believed and saw it for the first time as beautiful just how it was.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a really hard thing for women in particular to do. It happens for men too, but in women in particular. And I think that an element of acceptance that comes first that is the step before the love. So people are like, "Oh my god, I can't get to this like I love every part of my body because I freaking don't, you know?" Um but there is an element of like, okay, if nothing changes in my life. This is my body. This is who I am. This is my voice. This is where I am. Can I learn to find grace and love and compassion for this version of me? Because what I have found is you cannot enhance and expand into who you are meant to be until you honor where you are. And there is this huge, like, I want to be here. I want to be at this weight. I want to be at this job. I want to be at this level of income. I want to be published here. Like, these are the things that I want for my life. And if I don't get there, then I'm not there. I'm not successful. I'm not confident. I'm not embodied. And the thing is that I've learned, and this happened before my spiritual awakening, or I would say in the spiritual awakening journey, because I think awakening spiritually is just a giant personal growth journey. It's like you're just going to keep on growing and growing. But what I had to do is find space for where I was at and to say, you know what, I'm going to accept me. I can accept this baseline and still dream for more. But I'm not going to dream for more and shame who I am in the process. Like that actually doesn't ever work. And so that's what I encourage your listeners to do, especially at this week and what's going on and awareness and things like that. It's like, accept where you're at while you strive for more and honor what you can do versus what you can't. And that's true for anything, for a health journey, for a career journey, for a financial freedom journey, wherever you're at, you have to be like, okay, I've got $100,000 in debt and I'm not making what I want and I whatever and all of these things. And you can say, you know what? I live in a country where I can borrow money. That's pretty freaking amazing. Like I don't I don't have that in other parts of the world. And I know that I have the ability to make more money and get myself out of this. And oh, by the way, the things that I bought or the way that I spent that money, those were the magical lessons that I had to learn. And I've got to find gratitude for that. Even if it was I got scammed out of $75,000 by a scam artist. Well, you know what? I learned how to take back my power because I won't do that again. Like everything's a lesson, everything's a journey of learning and growing. And what I find the link in all of it is like honoring your voice. So when we talk about your throat chakra, it's like honoring the truth and the wisdom within you versus ignoring it, right? Because it's like when we're not, like, for example, when you were like, let's call it punishing yourself, you knew deep in your heart that it wasn't that wasn't love, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I know this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, but this is what I am doing. You know what I mean? It's like there's a little whisper in you.
Habit.
Yeah.
It become a nasty, mean habit. And it was also like a protective mechanism.
Yes.
If I'm really mean to me first and I'm super hard on myself, then nothing anybody else can say or do is going to hurt me because I've already done it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. And for me, personally, my weight was the very last thing to release. And I'm in the process of releasing it now in a super healthy way, in a very empowered way, which feels amazing. But I had to do all of the work as if I was a thinner version of myself first. And it was years of unpacking, years of loving myself, years of accepting myself, years of saying, you know what I can do is go for a walk and I'm going to honor that. And I'm going to be so grateful that my legs can do that, and it really was learning how to love every part of myself first. And once I did that, then with the help of my guides, I really could open up and see how I could let go of the weight. But my subconscious mind would not let the weight go until I let the weight go in my conscious mind, if that makes sense.
Oh my gosh. Like there is so much I want to ask around all of that.
I know I just went off for a while there. Sorry, everybody.
No, that is so good, Kara. First, what you said is so powerful and so empowering, truly reclaiming your personal power when you can love yourself exactly as you are. And maybe not even love yourself, but start to be kind or more gracious or more gentle, even just softer.
Yeah.
Toward who we are, but also knowing and starting to believe, because we somewhere along the way agreed to the belief that we weren't enough, that we aren't worthy, that we're not good enough, that we have to work harder, that we have to be all of these things.
Right. Or I can have all of these things over here, but I can't have these things too. It's like, and everybody has those. Like, these is the stuff that I can do like a rock star, and this stuff I'm not ever meant to have these things over here.
Right.
But you are.
And it's one of those things that I find really interesting because our heart energy center is sort of the junction between our upper and lower energy centers. But it's so interesting when we talk about our throat energy center and our chakra of our throat, our voice, sharing our authentic self, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our truth.
Yep.
That it comes from our heart.
Yeah, it really does.
We're so interconnected.
And people get this mixed up, right? Because they think like, I'm going to speak up, and you're speaking from a place of anger, frustration, like all low vibrational emotions, right? And you're like, I'm taking back my power. Like, you're a jerk and you nah, and like that's me owning my power and speaking my truth. Like that is not an unblocked throat chakra. Let me tell you. It's
But
like
that's
when
usually where people go
that's
first.
where
They're
you
like,
start.
I'm
Yeah, you
speaking my
rage.
truth,
That's right. I'm raging first. But the reality is when you truly have an unblocked throat chakra and you can speak your mind, you can say what you want to say in the world, it is coming from the most heart-centered place. So and I ask my clients this question all the time, and it comes up in readings. So as a spiritual medium, it comes up in readings all the time for people too. What is the most heart-centered way to speak your truth? And that is the question that comes up so many times. Like their guides will tell them, what is a more heart centered way to say that? Like when they're in conflict with their boss or their partner or their mother or their sister, and the reality is when you put it under that lens, you'll say it differently. You're like, oh, yeah, that's not rooted in love. That's not rooted in heart. And it's true for yourself. What is the most heart centered way to be honest with myself? Because you can't hide behind yourself either. I've done that. I'm sure you have too. It's like, oh my God, I could lie to myself better than I could lie to anybody else. Let me tell you, I can convince myself of anything. And when you decide, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to be honest with myself. But I'm going to ask myself, what is the most heart centered way to be honest with myself? And that's part of that unblocking process too.
So, Kara, talk to us and share some of the ways that we might be able to identify a block in our throat chakra. So, what might we be experiencing, feeling, thinking,
Yeah, and
or
you might be
the
like,
ways
"I
that
don't
we're
even know what a
acting?
chakra is." And you're like, "You don't have to. It's okay." But for example, if you ever do something like, "You know what? That person is so toxic. I just walk on eggshells. There's just stuff I don't say, there's stuff I won't talk about. I just keep my mouth shut because they are just so much drama. And if I bring up anything, like I'm going to be in the middle of it. So I just walk on eggshells around that person." What that means is their energy is interfering with yours. You are allowing who they are and how they vibrate in the world to affect you because you won't be your honest, authentic self around them. And there are things we got to do to survive. I'm not saying never, but that would be an example. Or I curtail what I say. I practice it 12 times over and I do the refined version versus the honest version. Or you might say things like, "Oh yeah, it's great, it's great, it's great, it's great." And you're like, "It's not great," but I'll tell people it's great. Or if somebody asks me like, "Do you want to go to the basketball game?" And you're like, "I don't know, I want to go to the damn basketball game." But I don't want to say that I don't want to go to the damn basketball game because I don't want my neighbors' feelings to be hurt and they have extra tickets and I know they would appreciate it if we went and da 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 da. And you're doing that dialogue in your head, that one that we all know. That means you are part of your throat chakra is blocked, like because you're curtailing your most honest, authentic self. And what you could say is, as kind as it is for the invite, I think I'm going to pass this time, right? That's truthful. And you still didn't say, I don't want to go. Like, you don't have to get it to your very first initial thought or feeling. But those are examples of us blocking our throat chakra. And I will say this, you can unblock it. And then the next day it's blocked again. Like it's a forever journey of learning how to hold space for yourself. And I cannot
You for
remember.
saying that,
Yeah,
because there
it's
was
a
a time where I
forever
was like,
journey.
"Oh, but I unblocked it. What the heck is going
You're like,
on?"
why am I feeling small again? What happened? Yeah, there's this lady, I cannot remember her name, so that part is such a bummer, but she, for an entire year, did an experiment where she chose not to lie to anyone ever. And you'd be shocked how many little white lies we tell all day, every day. Like, oh my gosh, do you like these jeans? Yeah, they're cute. No, those things are like frosted jeans from 1980. They called and they want them back. Like, I don't actually like your jeans. But I'm not going to say that because that's mean. So she would say, if I didn't have anything nice to say, I just wouldn't say anything at all. But I refuse to lie, even if it was to make somebody feel better. And by the way, when you do that, that is also blocking your throat chakra, and they can energetically pick up on the fact that you're not being authentic. And it happens all the time.
Ooh.
I think do you agree with me that you can tell when somebody's faking it?
Oh, yeah, or when somebody is biting their tongue.
Yeah,
when
same.
they're not expressing. I 100% can feel it.
Yeah, you feel
There
the
is a
energy
shift.
shift. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You're like, "Oh, wow, everybody," like everyone gets quiet, everyone does the side eye look like,
Mhm.
"Oh god, this is so awkward. Oh, we're all just gonna
Right?
ignore what's going on." Like that's what happens?
And it's so interesting because for me, one of the things that I noticed, and this is something I hear from a lot of other autistic women when we're talking about our voice and our throat and how that really impacts our self-love, our body, our food, our eating, everything,
Yeah.
our relationships. It is I feel this pressure, like I have to
Mm,
have an answer when someone asks me something. And
interesting.
so then you're like scrambling and you always feel under pressure to have the answer and not just any answer, the right answer.
Sure. Yeah. But how powerful would it be if you just said, "You know what? That's really interesting. Let me think about that for a second."
That's what's been one of the things that as I have cleared and opened and really expanded my throat energy center, my chakra, it has been that I feel safe
Mm.
internally, emotionally. I've built self-trust. And so now I know that I've got a slower processing time for some things, not always. Sometimes I
Yeah.
immediately know, hell no,
Yeah.
I am not doing that. Other times I'm like, I'm not really sure. I really need time to think about it.
Sure.
So now I'm okay with where before I felt this pressure, like I had to have the answer. Now I'll go, well, when do you need to hear back about that? I really want to go check some things or I want to think about it. Or I love this invitation. I really want to give it the honor and the space to process it. When do
Yeah.
you need an answer?
Yeah, that's
Or I'll come
great.
back to you tomorrow. I never would have even thought that that was possible, number 1, and definitely never felt that it was safe until
Yeah.
I got to this place.
And part of it, I would imagine, I have it in a slightly different way, but it probably shows up or manifests in a similar way. But it's this whole like people pleasing piece where you're like, I don't know, I don't want to cause anybody else discomfort. I want to make sure I do the right thing. I want to be a good girl. I want to be liked. I want, all of that. That's all playing small, all of it.
Oh
And
my gosh, yes.
then when we
I wanna be
decide
good
we're
girl.
not
I
going to
want the gold star.
that's right. When we decide we don't wanna do that anymore, we think that then it means like, "Okay, I'm gonna get the raging BITCH, flag. I'm gonna fly my biatch flag?" And you're like, "It doesn't have to be like that either. You can just decide you're not gonna do those things anymore." And I have to say, when I came out of the spiritual closet, is what I like to call it, I was terrified. I was so scared because it is such a unique thing to have an ability to connect with the unseen. And a lot of people are very skeptical. And there are people that use these tools to manipulate people or take advantage of people, just like any job or career, right? And I was like, oh my God, I don't want people to judge me. I don't want people to think I'm not telling the truth. I don't want to be so misunderstood. I don't want to be known for being the weird girl, flying the freak flag, like all of these things. And I was so scared, like debilitatingly scared to put out into the world so publicly these abilities that I had. But it really wasn't until I did that other things really fell into place. And my guess is you, me, everyone in between has something that they're resisting talking about because they don't want to be judged and they don't want to be criticized for it. Like a friend that was a Scientologist, like, no, I don't like to tell people I'm a Scientologist because it's so judged. Or I'm Mormon. I don't want to tell people I'm Mormon because everybody judges me if I'm a Mormon. And like, we all have something probably that is a part of us that we hide or play small. And the reality is that something is probably your superpower.
It's so interesting because what I experience for myself is that when I was holding all of it in, when I was silencing my own voice for the
Yeah,
fear of judgment of other people
that's right.
not being accepted or feeling safe, what happened was, number 1, my body broke down.
Hmm.
It affected every part of my physical body, and my relationship with food would be out of control because I was trying to find comfort, so I would
Somewhere
eat
else.
for
Yeah.
comfort.
Yeah. Same.
And and then I would feel really bad because I would feel like I would be, like, out of control eating.
Yep.
And then I would be like, why am I always thinking about food? Why can't I just like think about something? I didn't even realize how much I thought about food. And there's so many co-occurring health conditions within the autistic community that can also contribute to that. But part of it really was so tied to my throat and keeping my voice silent. Kara, how do we begin to find our authentic voice? And and when we start to find our authentic voice, how does that impact our body image, how we eat, how we move through the
Yeah.
world?
Yeah. It's what you are eating or not eating is a symptom. It's a symptom to an unhealed part of yourself. That's it. That's all it is. So once you realize that and you go, okay, if that's true, then I just need to figure out what I need to heal and at what parts of me I need to accept and release shame and guilt and all of those low vibrational feelings about ourselves. When you can let go of those things, then the coping mechanisms that you're using are going to change too. It is just the way that it works. And so part of it is like what we try to do is we try to solve like the symptom and we try to fix the symptom and we never fixed the root cause of why the symptom was in existence in the beginning to start with. And it's a journey. It's not like you're going to get there and you're like, boom, I'm there. I got it,
And it's never just one thing either.
No, it is. Isn't that the truth? But I do believe that it will, this is true for really, truly anybody. Your unhealed parts of you are going to show up. They're going to show up in destructive parts of your life. That is how it works. And when you continue to heal yourself and you really release the shame that you're carrying for what happened to you or what you chose to do to yourself out of survival or whatever, safety, whatever those things might be, when you can release the shame of those things, you can slowly but surely start taking back your power. So, one little thing that you can do is just write down on a piece of paper, where am I carrying shame? Did something happen to me when I was a little kid? Did somebody hurt me in words or actions? Did I hurt myself to feel safe or feel something? Start writing down those parts of you or those things that happened to you and write them down and be like, you know what? If I didn't carry these things, if I didn't let the burden of these things decide my day to day, and I could just accept that they were experiences from my past that got me to today, what would change for me? And you just write those little things down and then you fold up that piece of paper and you literally tell them thank you. Now this part seems really weird, right? But you're literally going to thank all the parts of you, even the super hard and painful and shameful parts of you, because those parts of you, those experiences are brought you to where you are today and they taught you something. You may not in the moment want to ever relive them, but there is some learning in there. Maybe you gave away your power. Maybe you didn't stand up for yourself and then something terrible happened to you. And you're like, oh, I'm never going to let that happen again. I'm going to use my voice this time. So you literally fold up all of those icky little parts and you thank them and you say, you know what? You got me to where I am today. And I thank you for that. But you do not need to carry the burden of those into my future. I'm not going to take these things forward. And you either rip them up, bury them, burn them, whatever it is, do some ceremonial piece to release those things. And it won't work magically overnight where you're like, oh, cool, I did the thing Kara told me and now I'm great and I don't have any shame or guilt or any of those things. But what will happen is your energy will start to shift. You'll go, oh, okay. And you don't have to stand on a mountaintop and tell people the shameful things that either you did or that happened to you for you to release them. We don't have to be like, oh, I had to write a book about, what happened to me when I was 16 in the locker room. Like, I don't need to do that. You don't have to do that. You literally can just say, you know what? I'm just not going to give it the power it once had. I'm going to accept that it was something that happened and I'm going to allow myself to move forward from it. And I'm going to ask what I meant to learn from it. And then I'm going to release its power over me. And when you do that, slowly but surely, you're going to start releasing the broken parts of you. And what happens is we're a pie. We have 100% capacity. And when you remove something from that pie, you get to replace it. And guess what? You can replace it with a more happy, joyful, positive thought, feeling, behavior, action. You get to replace that full, your cup is full. So if when you scoop stuff out that doesn't serve you and you get all that mucky gunk out of there, you get to put something more pure back into it. And that's what happens. And you just choose to do that every day. And before you know it, you're going to be like, wow, I actually do feel okay about the things that I've been through. I feel like my energy is shifting. I feel like I'm honoring myself more than I was before. And there's a million more things you can do, but part of it starts with just accepting that these things are in your past and they're not going to stay in your future.
I love that. As you were talking, I was thinking about one particular time where I was turning inward and just inviting the part that was really heavy that I had been carrying
Yeah.
for a long time. And I was acknowledging that it wasn't mine to carry in the first place and that I could put it down. And I just remember I had this visualization and I just visualized, I pictured myself taking this thing that was heavy in my hands and I just set it down. What I did, I physically felt lighter. And it wasn't, it still came up. And when it did, I was like, oh, I put you down. I don't have to. And then then I would move on without carrying it, without picking it up again.
That's right. I used to feel like healing was like an onion and you keep peeling back layers of it and you learn more and more and more and more and more. And now I say it's like an ascending spiral staircase. You're like, oh, I learned more about myself, but I'm stronger. I went up a rung. I went up a rung and I went up a rung. And it's a forever ascension process into expanding into your most authentic self. So it's never a destination where I'm like, I got there. I'm authentic. Yay. It's like you're going to forever have this journey of expanding and learning and growing and honoring yourself and honoring your journey. And you're going to discover little nuances of things. So what's going to happen is you're like, dang it. I swear to God, I healed that 14-year-old girl who let that boy grab her ass at the dance. Like, I really thought I forgave her and let her go. But that memory just keeps coming back. She just keeps coming back around. And that's how healing works. Things will come back around that you thought you healed from. And if that comes up and it comes into your memory or it comes into your awareness, you can say, okay, what else am I meant to learn from that? And it's a spiral staircase up. It's an expansion up because there's a little bit of something in there still for you to learn because it came up into your awareness, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. So share with us when we're starting to find our authentic voice, when we're allowing space for it, maybe for the first time in our life, how does that begin to shift how we look at our bodies and how we feel about our physical body?
Well, I find that when you first start using your authentic voice, it actually feels a little worse before it feels better. And that's like not probably what people want to hear, but it's the honest answer. You're going to be like, oh my God, that felt so uncomfortable. I don't know if I can do that again. Like the friggin' lady, the lady at the grocery store asked me something and I told her my honest answer and I just wanted to run. I'm like, please give me my groceries. Oh my God, I can't believe I said that out loud. And you're going to feel that way because it isn't a habit yet, because it's an unpracticed part of you. And so give yourself some grace, but try it. Don't go like, okay, you know what? The first thing I'm going to do to find my authentic voice is tell my mother-in-law what I really think. I'd be like, maybe don't start with like the hardest thing that you're struggling with.
I say start with strangers.
Okay. Yeah. Start with a stranger or start with something simple. Like, you know what? I don't actually want to have tacos for dinner. So I'm just going to say, I don't really want tacos for dinner. Instead of being like, oh, if everybody else wants tacos, I'll have tacos, right? That's a tiny little example of you like shrinking in order to accommodate other people. Now you might still make tacos, but at least you're going to acknowledge you don't want them, like that's a step. So try practicing it with little things, little things. And then with your body, it's like start small. So for me, I'm a pear, right? So I just started like, even right now, when I started sitting in a chair, I just started doing things like I'm going to rub my legs and my booty, just like I'm giving it a little massage. I'm going to just rub my legs up and down a little bit. And I'm going to be like, you are beautiful, you are powerful, and you are strong, And it's like, did that. My little chin hairs, I was like, because you have little chinny chin hairs, you also have the most amazing head of hair on the planet. Like, go you. Like, you little here, give me this up here. So it's like you find ways to love the parts of you that feel a little bit broken still, and find ways to accept it, and to honor it. Because the reality is, like, I've met like supermodels, like gorgeous, beautiful people, and then their self-talk isn't necessarily any better. So it's not like once you get to a certain weight or size or fitness level that you're magically going to love yourself. It doesn't freaking work like that. It just doesn't.
We are taking a quick pause in the show so that I can share an upcoming workshop opportunity with you. Then we'll get back to the fabulous conversation with my guest. Have you ever felt the challenge of guiding your team through uncertain times? You're not alone. Imagine transforming your leadership style with grateful leadership. In this upcoming workshop, you will engage in a 3-hour workshop designed for leaders like you. Dive into interactive sessions with case studies and role playing. Discover the power of acknowledgement to create a culture of appreciation, and learn to coach your team for breakthrough results. This workshop was created for leaders seeking to enhance their communication and interpersonal skills. Are you ready to lead authentically and inspire your team during times of uncertainty? Find out more at the link in the show notes below, and be sure to use our special discount code to save 50% just for listeners of Beyond Chronic Burnout. Now, back to the conversation.
You've got to love the skin you're in, and then when you do that, you can release the physical parts of your body that maybe you don't love as much, like parts of you that you don't want to accept. But that's just how it works. You got to heal little bits by little bits, and then you start making better habits or choices. But if you're carrying weight, like, which is something you and I can relate to, you're carrying it for a reason. It's keeping you safe from something. So that weight is a safety blanket for something. And when you learn what that is, you can let it go. But you cannot punish yourself into love. You can't be like, I'm going to keto diet my way into self-acceptance. It just doesn't work like that.
No, and it wrecks your hormones, ladies.
And it'll wreck your, especially once you are my age and our age.
Perimenopausal.
That's
it
right.
works till it doesn't.
That's right. Till you go into the other side of things. So just learn to like honor and accept little bits of who you are, and let it shift little by little by little. And it's okay if you have setbacks, just try again. Just wake up and say, everybody's like, oh my God, I have to start over. I'm on a diet again. I'm starting over. You're not starting over. You're starting again. And you're starting again from a different place on the racetrack than you did a year ago. And so don't think of it like you're starting your life over or any of those things. You're like, you know what? I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm starting again. Every day I'm going to start again. I'm going to choose to wipe the slate clean, honor who I am, and start again every single day.
And sometimes it's just the moment. When you're being present in the moment, I remember I was just saying, in this moment, I choose me.
Yeah.
And when I choose me, I'm valuing my health. What do I want? I'm going to drink a sip of water. And when I drank that sip of water, I would thank that water. And I do this every morning. This is how I start my day. I take a sip of water and I just simply express gratitude for the water. And I'm like, thank you for nourishing my cells. Thank you for hydrating me. Thank you for keeping me alive.
Yeah.
And it's super fast, but it's just in that moment. And for me, what I noticed that when I started to find my authentic voice, I started to start with those little things. I started with total strangers, started with super little tiny things.
Little affirmations, little starts to your day.
Right. What I noticed and what I notice now is, number one, my throat will tell me what I should and shouldn't be eating. Like, my throat will tighten up and I will get like a when it's something I should not be, my body doesn't want. And so, I mean, there's so many things that when we're listening,
yes,
that we can actually learn about our body. And just my body image and how I look at my body now, even though I'm in perimenopause, a lot has shifted in the last year physically for me. And
Yes.
I've got, a little fluffier around the middle. And I'm just like, that's okay. That's just where my body is telling me, hey, we're changing.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. And it's going to change again. Everything is temporary. So I just started to say, I love that you're shifting and changing with me in this hormonal time in my life in
Yeah.
this season.
Yeah.
And that, because I was not happy about it. I
Oh,
didn't start off
no.
happy. I was
I'm
mad
with you.
about it.
Like, I don't know, after 40, you're like, where did this tummy come from? I never had weight in my tummy. I had it in my booty, but not in my tummy. And then you're like, oh no, and it's still there. And it's still there. And even as I lose weight, it's still there. And it's still there. And you're like, oh, okay.
And so now I'm just like, okay, what's going to nourish all my parts? And I even ask my body, I'm like, okay, what do you need right now?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, I need a complex carbohydrate right now. Sometimes, go get a sweet potato.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, I really want a salad. My husband says I run on rabbit software. Startle response, eat lettuce, all the things. But that really has led me to what you talked about and that spiral up and that journey to self-love, because I discovered it's not a point of termination. It's not an end point.
You're right.
It is a state of being
That's right.
in
And
this
it's
flow
how
of
you see
self-love.
yourself and others, truly. And this is the thing. This is it. It's an actual spiritual law. But you can, if you're having a trouble doing this, then put somebody else's face in front of you in your mind. And what would you say to your sister? What would you say to your best friend? What would you say to, somebody you care deeply about that's being really hard on themselves, and knowing being hard on yourself is never the answer. In case you're wondering, if you think if the harder I am on myself, the more I'm going to punish my way to victory, it doesn't work like that. That is not how
I will motivate
self-love journey
myself.
works. But
Does
if you
not motivate.
that's right. So instead go, okay, if I can see it for someone else and I can help them see the silver lining or the love in the message, you know what? To say, like, you could say to a friend, you know what? I get it. You're not where you were. And I understand. You've totally gained weight in the last few years. COVID pounds are real pounds, but you're so beautiful. You're so smart. You're so awesome. You're such a great friend. You're so kind. You're so generous. You're like, those are the things you would say to somebody. And then if you can practice doing that for someone else, then you can start to do it for yourself. Or what would my friend say to me right now? What would my best friend say to me right now? And then allow it to come from that voice first. If you can't quite find the grace for yourself, that's a good place to start.
Oh, yes. That is so good. I mean, there's so many times that in this journey of self-love that's ever evolving and changing, in the beginning, I sought out to listen to other conversations, even if it was on a podcast
Yeah.
or if it was an audiobook, or if I picked up a book written by someone that they were embodying and living in a way that I want to live. And I started to listen, like autobiographies, I started to listen to what they were saying, how they were talking to themselves, how they were thinking. And I just simply remember I read this line in a book and I went, that's how I want to talk to myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can just give myself permission to talk to myself that way. So the next time something came up that was challenging, instead of going, well, this sucks, or I failed, or I didn't do this well, I just simply said what that person had said, which was, in this moment, I am doing my very best, and that is enough.
Oh, that's great. That is so great. In this moment, I'm doing my very best, and that is enough. Yeah. I think that's really powerful. I think for people, it's just an openness or willingness to try, you know? And like, people love affirmations, right? Power statements. I start my morning with, I love myself. I'm magical. I'm powerful. I'm awesome. I'm fearless. I am living my best life. And if you do not actually believe it, what happens is in your subconscious is it's counterproductive. So you're like, I'm saying all these things and my life's getting worse and I'm feeling crappier and blah, blah, blah. Like, why is this not working? Because you have to actually embody it and believe it. So by the phrase that you used, there's such honor and truth in the phrase, that you're doing your very best. You're honoring that today that was your very best, right? Or that moment that was your very best. And if you're having trouble with that, you can start any affirmation, any power statement with I'm willing to. I'm willing to love myself. I'm willing to learn how to love myself. I'm willing to learn how to care well for myself. I'm open to receiving guidance. I'm open to receiving love and compassion from myself. So it's this idea like starting where you can and honoring that, but always make sure it's the most heart-centered thing that you can tell yourself. Speak heart-centered truth to yourself and others. That's really where it's at.
To Kara, if people are listening today and they're like, oh my gosh, Kara just spoke directly to my heart. She's my flavor of jam. I want to learn more about this.
She's your strawberry rhubarb. That's my flavor of jam.
Yes. Ooh, I love that. I love strawberry rhubarb. How can people start to work with you? Can they connect with you? Because I know you have a fabulous program.
Yeah, I am on the gram. I'm on Instagram the most. My website is called Karmic Leader, KARMIC, karmicleader.com. And I do have a resources tab up, or that you have up there /resources. There is a really cool free guide. And if you're like, you know what, I kind of liked her. Let me just kind of see, what is her framework? How does she help people? What does she do? Because of course I do readings, but over time I'm going to do less and less of them. And what I really want to do is help people learn how to take back their own power with their team and spirit. Just like you're finding your own voice in the world, I want you to find your intuitive voice too. I don't want you to need somebody like me. I want you to honor it in yourself. And so I have free resources there. I have a podcast where I talk about these spiritual principles. It's called the Energetics Podcast. So I talk about energy and frequency, all these good things. And I'm launching a really, really cool membership on April 2nd. So I'll have a live masterclass called Talk to Your Guides. And then after that, the doors for this really cool membership are going to open up. And it's really just to create safety and community and space for people to learn and explore how to honor their authenticity, to connect with their guides, to practice listening to the inner voice and allowing that wisdom to transcend into all parts of their lives. So I'm really excited about launching that. And if you join my membership, you get my Connecting with Spirit course for free. So that part's really, really cool. Yeah. Yeah. And for as long as you're in the membership, you get it for free. And I just really, really want to help people learn what it's like to release what doesn't serve you, shift and raise your vibrational frequency, and learn how to receive intuitive guidance from the voice within. And that when you learn how to do that, your life will change. And so will your physical body, and so will your relationship with loving yourself.
And I am a walking, talking testimony to this beautiful woman and exactly what she just shared. Because when I met her over a year ago, that was the place that she was like, oh, well, I do this and talk about this. And, have you thought about that? And I was just like, oh my gosh, no, I haven't. And my entire world has shifted because I met Kara and because I started to allow space and to tap into my inner guides, my intuition, and all of these beautiful things that she's talking about.
And you're so good at it now. Look at you.
I had a good teacher.
You're sweet.
A really excellent teacher.
Yeah.
So if you are looking,
I will say this, and if I'm not your flavor of jam, find somebody that really truly find your power team, find a mentor, find someone who will help you learn how to continue to step into your most authentic self, because that's what the world needs. It needs all of us being our most honest, authentic selves.
Absolutely. That rising tide raises all ships.
That's right. 100%.
And, hey, if Kara, like she said, if she's not your flavor of jam, if I'm not really your flavor of jam, but I'm tolerable, I'm palatable, I'm going to introduce you to your flavor of jam. So join us again next week where we're going to go a little deeper. We're going to uncover another layer. We're going to continue this conversation and this journey of self-discovery and self-love. Thanks for being here. Talk to you next week.
Thanks for being here. It's been quite a ride. Energy mastery, let's turn the tide. Top shelf guests, dropping wisdom bombs. Join us next week, where the energy's strong. Beyond Chronic.